This is a show that demonstrates to you that one person actually can make a difference and that there are many, many people in our community who are doing so every day. Today, we have a powerful story about the Muir Ranch, and we're fortunate to have the director, chief, head honcho, king, I don't know,
compost shoveler
of the Muir Ranch, Mud Baron, with us today. So thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This is a snazzy studio.
Yes, it's
wow.
Beautiful.
It's lovely. It's lovelier. I brought props.
Right. Well, you want to spruce things up wherever you go.
There we go.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the Muir Ranch and what it is and what it does? And
yeah, Muir Ranch is a
how it got started.
Wonderful, strange place, and there's no simple way of looking at it. It's like that parable about 10 blind men who grab an elephant. So, for my end, what I'm grabbing, it's a teen jobs program that looks like a school farm. So we are actually the only year-round teen jobs program in Pasadena that's day after day, week after week, month after month. So we provide really meaningful jobs training, like you told me a little bit in the warm-up, that you've got kids here who are doing internships and getting valuable on-the-job work experience.
Right. Real world.
Real world, and we even, not that it's a competition, but we actually even give the kids paychecks, which is the challenge.
No competition at all.
No, well, the kids are like, my paycheck's this big. So we're at Muir. We have 2 to 3 acres. A lot of times I tell people I'm a farmer, and they're like, really?
Yeah, urban.
Urban farm. I don't grow urbans, but yeah, I am a urban. Yeah, I grow kids who are capable of navigating the 21st century. Ooh, how's that?
It's a big picture.
It is a big picture, and that's really what it is. I mean, because at the core of what I do as a vocational teacher is that I get kids, they've never really accomplished much, nothing concrete.
Yeah.
One of my crews just recently finished the greenhouse. If I actually did the math on the number of labor hours, I would just be like, oh, my budget. But we actually assembled a greenhouse on campus.
Really? At Muir, there's a greenhouse now?
There is now. A hot box. We can kill plants faster than ever before.
How big is it?
105 degrees, done. They're gone. It's 10 by 12, and it was a kit. It wasn't like raw. Harbor Freight, if you know Harbor Freight, the one over by the Whole Foods. Yeah. So if you know how to shop, you get a 20% discount. And I was approached oddly by 2 girls from Poly. And they're like, well, we have this senior project, and we want to help you out.
Community service.
Community service, but not only that, they were trying out a social enterprise grant philanthropy program. It turns out one of Poly's alums was the founder of Kiva, the farm microloan program, and there's a few other folks. I never met them, but they wanted to give away a certain amount of money, and these 2 girls, Sophie and Sachi, amazing kids, they're like, we're gonna go tell your story to this board, and then we're gonna get you 10,000. And they were so upset when they only got us 3. But anytime any donor gives me anything, I say thank you.
Right.
And so the greenhouse just got assembled this week. I think we still have a little tweaking to go. The kids put it together, which as a working farm and social enterprise, you have to generate revenue to keep the place going. But as a teaching program, it's all about the learning curve. And unfortunately in business, failure is not the best thing, but in a teaching program it is. So I'm not sure if that greenhouse, if the heat activated louver is working, but we'll know this weekend.
Yeah. Well, on the learning curve, you can also be adaptable. If you are, for example, in a for-profit business, you can't wait around for a learning curve of your workers or your interns or any of your staff.
Or even your clients.
Yeah, they have to be ready to go right from the get-go.
Right.
But in a teaching atmosphere,
I signed up for the sharp end of the learning curve.
Yeah, or the very gradual.
No, we're pretty sharp. We're pretty much, I don't know. How did you learn how to swim?
Well,
old school, or did you go to lessons? Because you know what old school is, right?
It's just
dad's back of hand, the pier, and then
good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah. So that's sort of the method I use as well.
I was lessons.
Lessons, right? So, no, we do. One of the things, as far as our business goes, we're predominantly a event floral, and event business. That's the place where my kids' skill sets or lack thereof overlaps with our ability to deliver to customers.
So just to clarify, not edibles?
Edibles are sort of a lost leader for us. No one's really, there's
why?
Well, have you heard of this guy named Jeff Bezos?
Oh yeah.
He has a little
runs
company
some,
called
yeah.
Amazon, which delivers. And then
Everything.
we're just a couple blocks away from the Whole Foods. He owns that too, and they deliver. There's also Blue Apron. There was a startup that was here and had a presence called Good Eggs. They're still in San Francisco, but they got like 30, 40 million dollars to go in Brooklyn to LA. And when they first came here, they sucked all the vegetables out of the local farmers markets. And they told the farmers we're going to do this stuff. And they tried using millions of dollars to make their produce company happen.
Yeah.
They got lots of debt. We don't. We do have a CSA, which is pretty much a break-even proposition week after week.
Can you describe what a
Of course.
CSA is?
I realize I use the acronym that just doesn't say.
Not everybody.
So you said this is on cable, right? What are the two channels? Do a plug at the moment. What are the two channels it's on? You have AT&T.
Well, it's on the Arroyo channel.
Right, so the Arroyo channel, right? So I subscribe to cable, for example. A CSA is basically a flower or vegetable subscription. And these are bell pepper plants.
Can you pick that up?
Yeah. This is not only bell pepper plants, it's about 500. It's called a plug tray.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even with a lot of artificial inputs that our business has, about 80% of the food we sell, we buy from other farmers. They're professionals. They have 500 acres. We have both of them, too. So
you have you're multitasking. So you have the flower business, which is your mainstay, but then you also have a CSA.
that's revenue positive. Yeah.
And so you're providing some edibles around the community through the CSA.
Right, but the thing is that we're in Northwest Pasadena. I'm sure you've had shows and you've talked a little bit about food deserts, and I'll just say that a food desert is a low-income neighborhood where access to fresh fruits and vegetables is not
tough.
easy. Not easy. Northwest Pasadena has some of that, but it also has some really amazing markets. Super King is hard to compete with too.
Super King I shop there quite a bit.
Yeah, they got the Armenian cheese. That's the hookup right there all day. So there's not exactly a complete dearth of options for people in Pasadena. Yeah. So our CSA is people who have time on Mondays, who come by the school like from 4 o'clock till 6:30. Give or take. And our CSA, unlike others, isn't prepackaged. We'll put out 15 or so boxes of fruit and produce, and people can take what they want. Because kohlrabi is a hard sell. You know the kohlrabi?
No.
Brassica family. It looks like a turnip that grows above ground, and then it has space alien leaves that do this.
Oh, the really
attractive ones. Tastes like turnips, and you might be saying, why don't you just eat turnips? Because it's kohlrabi. But heirloom tomatoes in season we get from a farm up in Lone Poke. Avocados we'll get from Fallbrook. Citrus right now we're pulling from Danuba and Lindsay, which are up in Fresno. Which is really nice thing about a CSA is that we're good at shopping, and we get some of the best produce from about a 200-mile radius. And the customers don't have to go to the farmer's market. And if you go to a farmer's market, it's a half-hour to 2-hour proposition.
Yeah, so you give them a shortcut. You give them the ability to get some good fresh fruits and vegetables.
And we have a lot of floral subscribers too, which the kids do those arrangements, which is really good practice for them. And it's a pretty, we actually outcompete Trader Joe's. Oh yeah, that produce company.
No.
Oh yeah, we do. We actually do. They're tight.
Amazing.
They're tough, but they don't got our stuff.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the youth development that you were describing, because I think the plants are wonderful.
This is props.
Beautiful. Yeah.
This is all props.
Yeah, but it's about changing lives, right?
Sure.
So first of all, how do you identify the students who you're working with, and then what is like a day-to-day, and maybe even talk about like training or preparation?
Sure. So I can answer that a sarcastic way, or I can answer that a very policy-oriented way. I'll go with sarcasm. That's my natural go-to. So I like smart troublemakers.
Okay.
Not necessarily good traditional learners, and they may not be a good fit with traditional academic offerings, but I give them sharp objects and I negotiate what a shared goal is. A lot of them, for example, what do you think the kids' motivation is?
You mean as far as why would they
want to deal with these organic peppers?
To get out of class.
Well, no, we're not an out-of-class program. We're after school, so.
Okay, so to not have to go home?
That could be for some, and I do have a kid who constantly is nudging me to bring him carbs for the shift. He's just totally obsessed. I've never had a kid this motivated by food as much. I won't say who the kid is because that's maybe not fair, but you have to ask yourself the questions, how come food is a motivator, right? That begs a certain question. And this I don't think is a mystery to anyone at in Pasadena, but Muir High School, about 90% of the kids qualify for free and reduced lunch, which is just a raging indicator of poverty. Also, it's confusing for folks outside of Pasadena to associate poverty with our community.
Well, yeah, there's a misnomer about this is the land of the Tournament of Roses and of the Rose Parade and the Rose Bowl and the Millionaire's Row on Orange
And we're right
Grove.
there with our bougie flowers. And we've done the Rose Bowl, and we do the Rose Parade. And, by the way, have you ever ridden the Rose Parade? Have you ever ridden?
No, but I've had friends and family.
You've got to do it. I'm a
Yeah,
bit of
but-
an introvert, but it is the most fun. I rode 2 years ago
But you have to
with
be,
Stanford and
you
Iowa.
have to have connections. Or
You just have to be someone they
that
like.
they want to see.
They want to. I don't know. They put me on the dark side of the not TV side. That was fine.
Oh, okay.
And I
In the
lost
shade.
$20. I've never been to a tailgate party either. I probably won't go back to one of those. But the Rose Parade was awesome, and our float, the Miracle Grow float, was just a little behind Downton Abbey, which was like I'm a big fan. I like my costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we were talking about the students.
Yes.
Right. So
How do
our
you-
students, smart troublemakers. So, we live, you and I are both about the same age, right? Half a century, give or take, right?
Yeah, around there.
So we grew up with certain expectations of middle class, like I'm from the Midwest, and you could go to work at the General Motors plant, even then, and make
Flint.
50 grand. Are you from Flint?
No, I'm from Pasadena, but
Okay.
I'm familiar with Flint.
Yeah. Well, I'm down the I-75 about 2-3 hours south. I'm from Dayton. So, that type of job where you could just go work on the factory and make the equivalent in 2018 dollars of 50 grand, those choices aren't available.
Yeah.
Also, vocational training hasn't been really updated for the economy in 2018. There's a lot that is left behind. And even things like graphic artists, which you have one I saw in the title credits, is that going to be automated? Is that going to be outsourced in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so there's a big conversation about automation, about robotics,
Right.
about artificial intelligence, and so, but this is a long way from all that.
Is it? Because if you're
I know.
16, if you're 18, and you want a job, there was a story recently about the Caltech hamburger flipper here in Pasadena. That there's a robot that was in Old Town, just a couple blocks from here, that was flipping
Caltech
hamburgers.
Built a hamburger
Right, and I'm
flipper.
sure it was
Great.
$600,000, but they might bring that price down. And with health insurance being what it is, why wouldn't a corporation go for automation?
And they carry that cost over 10 or 20 or 30
And we could
years.
talk for another half hour and sound like an episode of KPFK. We're talking about reasons for global financial insecurity.
Right.
I can't control that. I borrow from John Wooden, the UCLA basketball
Yeah.
coach.
He won 11 championships.
A few, with and without Lou
11.
Alcindor, right?
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
he demonstrated his prowess with talent and with just.
And one of his favorite
good team.
phrases, and I'm behaving myself with language, but I'll say, control the stuff you can control, let the rest go.
Yeah.
And so I have this small cadre of kids who are motivated by wanting, I'll show you what they're motivated by. This is one of the craziest things. This, right? This.
What, a communication system?
Cell phone,
Or-
smartphone, right? So that's sort of that, and even money's maybe secondary. This is my experience working for 15 years
no,
with
I
kids.
believe you, but how does that connect
Look, I
to
got all these
flowers?
messages. Well, here's the thing. They want this, but business functions in the capacity of it solves other people's problems. And if you're going to run a business, no, that's pretty much it. It's either you fix something for someone or you do something
Well,
for
you
them.
provide a service.
Goods or services.
Yeah.
You fix something or you give them something.
Yeah.
That's all business is. There's no other, even if it's a nonprofit social enterprise that's fiscally sponsored project, that's our urban farm, we actually fix problems for customers. And that mindset that the kids have to adopt is the embryo or cotyledon, to use a botanic term, of entrepreneurship. Because that's really what I'm teaching the kids, fixing other people's problems. And if you're good at fixing people's problems, you get to do more of that and have more clients, and you stay busy and you're working. And even, on a step back on a personal level, maybe a 16-year-old's not ready to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. And most of them aren't, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into being that.
Probably a lot of people don't want to be Mark Zuckerberg right now anyway.
You know what? I'd take that check. I would, even with right now. What he's
Even
going
with a few lawsuits.
You know what? 20% less of 50 billion is still not bad.
Yeah.
He's doing okay.
You could buy more
Yeah,
seedlings.
he's got a hospital named after him. You and I don't even have a compost pile named after us. Although I can name one after you.
That's very
We'll see how this interview goes.
Generous of you. I was born in Huntington, and that's named after someone really local
there we go.
and wealthy.
The creator of LA Sprawl. Thank you, Mr. Huntington. All right, so back to entrepreneurship and training the kids to do that. So within the various business models that we could adopt, I've discovered the kids have the greatest capacity to compete with adult enterprises within floral. I mean, that's this place where, I just got married a few weeks ago, and
Congratulations.
thank you. And the other half, I'm beginning to empathize with her because she's a film publicist. So she has to sit through interview sessions like this,
bright lights.
right over there,
Yeah.
like 20 times for the same questions. Like all those questions about A Quiet Place, the movie that she's with right now with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. She's the one who's right over there.
That was good. That was a nice little plug there.
Well, yeah, I think they'll be okay without me.
Shameless,
Yeah, no, and Mark Zuckerberg, I'm thinking they're giving him some money to go. People can go see it.
Yeah.
That
So
said, entrepreneurship with the kids, it's a very alien, foreign concept. Like, normally they just approach needing a job because they need money.
Yeah.
Well, if you're an employer, you've got 20 people that say, I need money, hire me. As opposed to the one kid who says, oh, what do you need done? I can do this with a crew because I've managed one before, and I can do that piece. I'm not really good at that piece, but I am fast at learning. And so all of a sudden, this potential employer hears someone fixing their problems.
And they want someone with a good attitude too, and someone who's willing to work hard and go the extra mile.
Yeah, and I tell my kids, especially some who don't have great attitudes, I teach them how to fake it, which is a skill. It really is.
Yeah, well, we all have to learn how to.
We have our moments.
Navigate.
There's things we don't want to do. But with the flowers, a lot of the guys, at first, they have their preconceived notions of what a florist is. A lot of it's centered around homophobia, and I'm not going to say more on camera, but it's basically that. But then they rapidly discover that, girls love flowers. So they're like, oh, this ain't bad.
Yeah, angle.
There's an angle. And at my wedding, for example, I had two of my former students who I invited to come. I asked them to do one piece. You've been to a Jewish wedding, maybe?
Just on in the movies.
Yeah, well, I was in one. I'm a goy, I'm a Gentile, but my other half. We did a huppah, which is the Jewish bridal arch. It's really, we've done them before, but I had two guys, one who had done it before with the supervision of another friend who's a florist, and they knocked out this huppah, which I would have charged clients for in Santa Monica or Pasadena at Castle Green, like $2,000 to $3,000 for, right? These guys knocked it out in 2 hours, and they walked away from that having gotten $20 an hour job offers from Andrea, the florist who's based in Venice. And these are kids who don't have college degrees. They don't have years of experience in floral. They just know how to hustle, solve a problem, move on next.
That's a great example of how they've transferred what they've learned with you through the garden and through the systems in the garden into actual cash. So
yeah, it's a translatable skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How else are you
So
seeing
none of them
that?
want to live and be florists, but they realize it's a means.
Yeah.
One wants
but
to,
none of them want to live and be poor either.
right, or smell like the dishes at Barney's where one works,
Yeah.
or try to create his car detailing empire and discovering that one thing that entrepreneurs have in common that he doesn't have is access to capital.
Yeah, capital.
That's a big thing. So Muir Ranch, to a certain extent, we provide the infrastructure, the capital, the materials, so that the kids can do that. And our main mission is to give these kids skills, not to make a profit.
Yeah.
We're a pretty lean, mean organization, and
So a little bit different question, moving
Please.
away from Muir Ranch itself. Why is this so important to you? What got you into this trajectory to helping young people to develop their skills to be entrepreneurs?
it's a long question, but there's a bunch of different pieces, right?
Okay.
So it's a happy accident. My hobby is giving flowers away. I worked for this guy named David Brower, who was Ansel Adams' publisher.
Sierra Club?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, first executive director.
Yeah.
With Ansel, he created the coffee table exhibit format book,
Yeah.
which is the great irony that environmental propaganda causes trees to get cut down.
Yeah.
But it's all balanced out. We don't have to talk about the puppies and the fire truck dog books. But so Dave certainly took me under his wing, and gave me a real strong sense of helping others because he helped me. And I was a furniture maker's apprentice after leaving art school. I wasn't really into Dada and stools and bicycle wheels and all that.
Goya.
No, Goya's good, but I was a sculptor. So I ended up becoming a furniture maker's apprentice. I had a state-of-the-art 16th century education in Appalachia, where I'm from, Ohio. And while I was doing that, because that's such a lucrative thing, pushing a broom and sanding, I was a farmhand, just to, room and board, on a Pennsylvania Dutch radical Christian socialist intentional community run by a guy named Mark Gish, right? Like Mennonites Amish with toasters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody draws a line.
Right, and I'm more of a Unitarian pagan, but I like their social justice focus. So I didn't realize at the time that farming's the thing that I really want to do with when I grow up. So 15 years ago or so, my son's 18, so even more, like 19, 20 years ago, I thought about what I was doing and I was like, really, am I making the world better? Because I was a contractor. That's what furniture makers grow up to do. You build $250,000 kitchens in the old Baldwin estate with 14-foot long green Brazilian granite countertops and three dishwashers and 2 espresso machines. And some of the clients, they were lovely. Like they won a Kentucky Derby, so they had a trophy case, but they also had a trophy wife and a trophy kitchen. And that's not really where my values lie. So as someone whose hobby is giving flowers away, I started volunteering at North Hollywood High School, which was a 7-acre site, still there. And there was this beleaguered 4'13" teacher who had no help, no support. And I discovered that a lot of my skill sets were applicable to helping her. And I discovered also working with kids is the best work I ever did, because I was bored in high school. I was a smart kid, and I was a tough fit. And if someone can find meaning in the work they do at age 15 or 18, that's a really powerful thing. That's really powerful. And Muir Ranch, a lot of the criticisms that I get, it's like, well, Mud, you're not there. You're not running it. And I'm like, no, I've trained the kids to be self-empowered, to take the leadership role, and they have expectations and accountability and responsibility. So that is the piece that is really exciting, to train them how to be self-directed.
You aren't there.
Well, I mean, today I drove 300 miles. These don't deliver themselves. Yeah, this was part of if I paid for everything in my truck that looks like this, and this is about $40 and 500 bell pepper plants. There's a label. What does it say here? That's a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. It's enough for about 20 school gardens.
No, but it seems like a high price.
What, $40?
Yeah.
No, it isn't. Why? What's 10 cents? Yeah, these are about 9 cents a piece.
Yeah.
Now at Home Depot, a 3-inch plant is about $3. What do you want to pay, 9 cents or $3? But these were donated.
Right.
By a company that sells 500 million plants, but they grow 520 million to make sure they take care of their customers.
But your point is that you've created.
So I'm not there. It was, I think, the response.
The initiative and the responsibility on the parts of these young people, so they self-manage or they self-direct. Or
one of our management techniques, and it's from construction. You know what a punch list is?
Yeah. Well,
you ever had work done at a house? Yeah, so it's just a list, and this is the stuff, and I do walkthroughs all the time with the crew.
Yeah.
I have a farm manager, he's 23. People think I'm younger than I am. My back is 95, but I'm actually 48. So I've got a 23-year-old with lots of energy and just really resilient, responsible nature, nicest kid in the world. He was an accidental hire. He came in to do floral. That was the job, florist, crew leader. Sucked at it. I mean, he didn't suck at it, but that was not his thing. He had this kind of wackadoodle hippie rainbow bouquet. It was like, that's not what we do. But on the interview, he moved a compost pile 30 yards. Like beast, like skinny kid beast. And Pedro is, he's amazing. So he's responsible for making sure the punch list gets done. The kids will go on a walkthrough too, but they focus at their level. So, you see things from a 16-year-old's perspective. You may not see the bigger picture, but you're like, oh, I have to do this. I have to get these sow thistles out, and I have to fix this irrigation system. Done. Hector's like, oh, I have to do the flowers for the CSA, and I have to go find carbs.
Yeah. So,
that was a joke.
It seems like, I'm laughing with you.
Okay.
It's just not obvious. It seems like, though, there's some sort of methodology that you have or some structure that it's not just having them do the punch list, or it's not just having them excited about plants, what's kind of the secret sauce? What do you?
It's not a secret. It's just an unusual way of going about a vocational training program. So most knowledge is a very formal. There's 30 kids.
Yeah.
And there's someone with the expert information, and they're curating that information, and the kid does the worksheet, which they, like, oh, this is the answer, Australia, or this is the answer, 5. And for a lot of things, yeah, there is that concrete knowledge, but I use a Freirean concept, if you're familiar.
Paulo.
That Brazilian guy. So I use Freirean techniques in a vocational setting, which is not your typical vocational program. But I'm comfortable in a knucklehead construction farm environment. I do things. I like, I'm a little on the ADD spectrum, so I want my hands moving while I'm talking.
Yeah. But I think the methodology is assuming that they have the knowledge within them and is pulling it out of them.
Well, part of it is instead of saying, okay, this is what the information needs to be, I negotiate with them what the job's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, they want to get paid. And I'm like, this is what I need to get done, and this is how we have to do it, and this is when we have to do it by, and this is who it's for. All the parameters. Do you want to do this? Is this you? And the kid can say yes or no. Yeah. And once they agree, once they agree to do it, then you hold them accountable. You don't have authority unless they say yes, which is a big piece of it, right? Because school is you have to go, and you have to do this, and you have to, and you have to. I'm someone who doesn't like to be told what to do. Very much so. But if I agree to do something, then that's a separate animal.
That's true. It's with your own permission. It's with your own commitment.
Yeah. So a lot of it is the kids agreeing, and they all know of the various jobs that the kids have done. Like when we've done a wedding at Castle Green, the bride's mother, who in addition to getting a tax write-off, she gave the kids a tip. She paid online, everything, but the tips. Service economy. Exactly. So that's between them and the kids. I don't go. I'm not there to do your flowers. That's a 23-year-old with 3 16-year-olds. And one of the kids, I was talking, and we talked about it at our last dinner in front of like 200 people. I said, so did you get the same tip as everybody else? And he's like, I think so. And I'm looking at my 23-year-old, who I know took more, but he had more of responsibility. And so there's a learning curve there. But the kids make $12 an hour plus. If there's a tip involved, that's between the client and the kid. Right.
So it's all a process of learning while doing.
And, of course. And we take the motto from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, learn by doing.
Well,
which can be messy. It really can be. It makes no sense as a business model. But as a teaching model, it's a little brilliant.
Yeah. Well, the work you're doing is fantastic.
Thanks.
And I want to thank you very much for taking the time to be here today and for bringing the plants. Oh
my God, was that 27 minutes?
Yes.
No way.
So
that's brilliant.
We're thrilled that you were here. So thank you very much.
Have some bell peppers.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you.